Now that the Chief Executive's arrived, we're into it. Yeah. Hang on. Oh, you mate? Okay. Yeah. Adding a bit of tension to the meeting before we even get started. Well, good morning, everybody. Morena. We'll go straight to the karakia. All together now. Whaka.
Takataho ki te uru, whakatakatāhau ki te
tonga, kia mana ki te
kina ki
tēnā
uta,
tūta,
ki
tēnā
ngā
tāna,
taratara ki tai,
tai,
e he aki ana ti atakura, hi tuio, hi huka, hi hauhu, ti hei, Māori ora.
Now, I couldn't keep up with that, so well done, everybody. Yeah, no, it was just Mayor was leading it far too quickly for me. But well done. Look, before we get started and welcome everybody, I have just a wee statement actually. Look, to all the team that put together the papers for this meeting, really well done. These papers are improving, and they were very readable. So Steve, Ellie, to your teams, can you pass that on? Well done, guys. Really appreciate it. I can see a little bit of AI influence in there, but having said that, good organisation, readable, got through them really well. Key items were addressed. So well done. Okay. Any apologies? There being none. Any items of extraordinary business that we wish to consider in the meeting? The open session? From any member? No. Any conflicts of interest for the open meeting? No. The terms of reference for your information, minutes. Are there any amendments any member would like to make to the minutes of the previous meeting? I think we've got two sets here, haven't we? Have we? Just let me get myself organised. Yes. So minutes of 5 May. Any amendments? No. Any matters arising from those minutes that aren't otherwise covered in the agenda that a member would like to discuss? No. Someone move that those minutes. Sam and Secretary Tracy. Everyone happy with that? Thank you. Minutes of 23. Hang on. There's me thinking there are two sets of minutes. I may be dreaming. That is a possibility. No, we're right. Thank you. All right, action items. Only two. Both yet to, hang on, no. Report on draft Treasury policy. Cannot be amended until the next long-term plan. Are we comfortable with that? Yes. Privacy Act training. I think we can probably remove that from our action items and Steve, make that an action item of your executive team because it falls in that area. So
it's booked.
All right, that can come off the action items. Thank you. Chairman's report. I have no chairman's verbal update. So we will move straight to the Executive Director report.
Thank you, Bruce. I will take the report as read, just note one thing. Obviously, the debt limit is considerably lower than what we projected in the long-term plan, which is good. And I will just note Tracy has raised a question on the ED report, which I will defer on to Bob. And I think Bob will just cover that as part of his paper overall. Thanks.
You happy with that, Trace? All right. Any questions?
My only question was just around the forward-looking work program that we've got as part of your paper. We're at the end of that now, and so just the setting of our forward-looking work program that might need to happen.
Thank you. Yep. I actually might take that offline with the Chief Executive and the Program Director, and we'll have a chat about that, bring it back to the next meeting. So can we get some time in the diary for that, please, Ali? Thank you.
you.
All right. Any other questions for Ali? Everybody happy that, do I have someone move that we accept that report? Thanks, Oath. Seconded, Lydia. Everyone happy? Thank you. Okay. Health and safety. John. On the record, compliments about the jacket. Already spoken about it today. You're under pressure to have a new one every meeting.
Ready to go. Morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I will read through the executive summary and then go through the report, and happy to take questions and the final end. Continued focus on site walkarounds for both elected members and ELT is continuing. Our training analysis has shown there is a group of our workforce who haven't been able to complete initial health and safety training. We are actioning this with our digital team and our LNID team to ensure that that gap is closed. We also continue to progress with our critical risk groups and await availability of an external partner this month to carry out review of both framework, effectiveness of controls. That has started in the last couple of days with Intersafety and will progress until finalisation at the end of the month. Upgrade of Vault to EHS Core continues to progress, and we do bi-weekly project meetings and SME training updates every 2 weeks. It's going very well for us, and it's looking like it will add increased value and acceptance across the council. Health and wellbeing are continuing to see continued interactions with both Talk It Out and our TALIS partners, as you will see in our slide deck. Our new wellbeing program, Work Well for Everyone, is currently being developed with our external occupation health nurse, and this is to provide ergonomic assessments for staff at the commencement of their role. So as they come into council, they will be set up so that they don't have any ongoing issues later developing. The avian flu risk assessment and actions are being undertaken with the risk manager, with collaboration and communication with the health, safety and wellbeing team. To our walk around site visits, the health safety leadership work site visits is continuing to provide an opportunity for both ELT and elected members to gain a greater understanding of how work is done, while also gaining insight on possible improvement initiatives. Work is done versus work is imagined. Increased workloads and illness have proved challenging in these site visits over the last 3 months, but they do remain a priority for the executive directors and elected members to fulfil their duties as officers of the PCBU under the Health Safety and Work Amendment Act. So that is part of the Amendment Act, is that we understand our due diligence. Key responsibilities include understanding the risk, allocating the resource and verifying compliance. The walk-around site visits are integral to the officers achieving greater understanding of health and safety critical risks across the council work sites and determining what is required to ensure they are safely managed while fulfilling the legal responsibilities as a minimum. Our training and workshops reported incidents of negative behaviour by some members of the public towards council and staff is continuing. We are continuing to provide de-escalation training workshops, including refresher training for new and long-term staff, being well received, providing effective and helping to manage such incidents. Rolleston HQ have also installed handheld radios to provide some effective communications for our blue light alarm safety response team when the event occurs. We are providing a drill in the next month or so to see the effectiveness of how that works and our new team members using that system. Our GIS location of interest layer is live with regulatory building and reserves team adding information into the database where safety concerns justify inclusion. Recent example of this including addresses of residents recently arrested for assault and known for their anti-council views, posing a possible risk to staff visiting the location. Our managers and team leads have received one-on-one training from our GIS team. Our database is progressively growing as relevant information is being managed and added. The next step is to launch the system out to other relevant public-facing teams, promoting a culture change with the help of our health and safety champions and heads of department. The training guides will be available via the health and safety intranet portal and further direct support from the health and safety team. All 6 critical risk teams are making progress on reviewing controls, receiving endorsements for each from the ELT sponsor. Although this may not be reflected in the number of sponsor-endorsed controls over the period, teams are conducting realignment work in the background, reviewing common controls across the various teams that do not necessarily align with a specific team management standard. This has taken time, it's been temporarily slowed down with a number of controls being endorsed for some teams, but has ensured a more in-depth review of some common controls rather than a rushed approach to turn controls green. And health and wellbeing, as reported, New Zealand Institute for Public Health and Forensic Science, respiratory illness increased during July, driven by RSV and influenza rather than COVID. Impact on our teams is currently unknown, but elevated levels of respiratory illness in the community is available.
John, excuse me, can we can assume that every member has read the report, and so reading it back is because you're losing me a little bit. I want to know what you think is important out of your report. So apologies. I just want to just if you could just go, okay, well within here this is the key point that I want to make, as opposed to reading it to me, because I've read it and it's a good report. Hit me with your big shots, I think, is the key here. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm just getting just a touch lost. That's all. Thank you.
Big shot for us is psychosocial risk management. We've developed guidelines. It's been reviewed and approved for distribution, and they're attached to this report. That is our big managed risk every day.
And we've got a paper on that, so we will actually dwell on that.
Yep. And I suppose our other thing is our Work Well for Everyone program being developed around our ergonomic risk. Excluding
the psychosocial risk management paper that we've got coming up, has any member got any questions in relation to this report for John?
I just had a comment about, and I know that it does fit into psychosocial, so I apologise, Bruce, but because this is live streamed and the documents are publicly available, I just wonder whether it would be useful to add a couple of examples about the behaviour that our people are on the receiving end of, because it's just part of the educative process out there of what people are experiencing. Obviously nothing that identifies anyone, but to give us and the people out there just a little bit more idea of what sort of stuff is going on.
Good. Any other member? Sam?
Thank you. I was just wondering what percentage of our staff are currently taking the full allocation per year of sick leave?
We can check with HR and get that back to you, Councillor.
Cool. Thank you.
Just on that, John, and it's it just the other boards that I'm serving on at the moment have got a mandatory stand down for staff, especially with the respiratory illness going around at the moment, because it is quite contagious. So don't be a hero. And I would imagine that through your group, you'd be telling people that you don't want to see them. They can dial in if they need to for short periods, but I'd prefer, the preference has been for most organisations to keep them isolated.
Yep.
Because it's very contagious.
And actually rest, not,
Yep.
you don't have to be online.
Yeah. Any other questions? I've got a couple, just if no other member has. One is, it occurs to me we have a very mature health and safety program developing, which a compliment to you. I wonder how our health and safety and wellbeing program speaks up, though. Okay, when I say speaks up to the executive leadership team and speaks up to council. And the reason I say that is we're in a very dynamic change. And if somebody, like at the moment, I can't, and you guys can't expect that your councillors and your senior executive team are superhuman. And absorbing change at the moment is difficult. And my view would be to the chief executive and the mayor is that we need to make some of those opportunities we have available to staff, those opportunities available to councillors, right? But just because you're a chief executive or a mayor doesn't mean to say that you're not immune from the pressures of the change that is going on or the requirements of change. And so I was reflecting on that and thinking how, because there will be obviously tension, because as different environments are explored. And I didn't get a feeling that we were doing as good a job upwards, John. And I know it's hard when you're in a senior executive team to look up rather than look at the team, but I would like to think that we are actually making sure that we've got the well-being of our leaders under control as well, because that will be relevant as the team look to the leadership team. And if there's tension in the leadership team, for obvious reasons, there'll be tension in the team. Okay?
Yep.
Have you...
We do currently do that with elected members and chief executive and ELT members as well. We provide those check-ins and opportunities to use our services.
Yeah. But just asking the elected members, are you aware of those kinds of opportunities? Are they available to you guys?
I'm more aware of the fact that LGNZ has a specific service for elected members who need support in that sort of way. And if I was going to use it, I would probably go that route.
I'm just making sure that it's right through the organisation. Okay.
Look, if I can, Mr. Chair, I think any councillor can come to us for support, including yourself, because that's part of the service that we provide, because you are part of our family. One of the things we did in the election period last year is we offered support for a number of councillors that were going through the last 6 months of the last triennium, and we did that on a per person basis. Obviously, we won't share any information, but that is a service offer available to anyone.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the management, the executive summary paper before we move to the specific papers the specific paper of the SOCO? No. Okay. On that basis, we'll move towards the specific deck in relation to psychosocial risk management. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I'm accepting the dashboard here. Is there any questions on the dashboard here from the team? No? Thank you. All right. Okay. Over to you, John, team.
Sorry. As part of our psychosocial critical risk team, we thought it was prevalent to develop some guidelines. A number of people and a number of places do different things. We decided that a framework and a guideline would help both our people and also our leaders ensure that we're doing the right thing at the right time across the board. As part of that, we developed the leaders' guidelines, the flow chart, and just the standard framework. We had it third-party peer reviewed, and made some changes according to the feedback, and also used our health and safety champions to provide some indication of where this should sit. We've presented to you to see how you see that fitting within the psychosocial critical risk part of our business.
Okay, thank you, John. Questions? Comments? Reactions? So,
Thank you very much is my main comment. I don't want to say this is wrong or right or whatever, but having previously been in a role where I was asked to make a framework like that and then told, oh, we can't possibly achieve that, scrap it. I'm very glad that we not only have it, but it's displayed there. There's the how-to, there's the steps, and that gives me confidence that here at least we're taking it seriously. So thank you very much.
quick comment from me, John, and it's similar to the last time we saw a guideline set come through. Very fulsome piece of work. My view would be is that I would synthesise this into key touch points, identification, and I would try and marry it to environmental work, either environment or workload, so that otherwise I think the guidelines will be lost in everyday work. I would be looking to the pressure points and hot points where your senior executive team needs to be aware this is likely to be top of mind. Is that? I think that's you're capable in here. I went through it and said, okay, well, there's a you could emphasise this, but this is when it's likely to be identified or identifiable, or this is what you're seeing if you're getting this kind of pushback, right? That kind of thing.
Yep.
I think at that point, because it's there, yeah. So I think the guidelines are great, but I want the identification processes emphasised, because everybody's got a day job as well. So it can be lost, and it's no fault of leadership or no fault of teams if you do miss it, because you've got big teams. But you need to have points where people should say, okay, what's the impact? Especially as as workload increases or pressure points come on, or you're in an environment where you are subjected to consistent levels of battering and inquiry. Okay, Lydia.
I think, John, you'll know that I like everything simple and easy to understand, and I think I want to ask you, are you confident you've got this simple enough that people can integrate this into and it's probably along the same lines as Bruce has said, that they can integrate this into their daily work life so that it does become a norm? Or sometimes I wonder around the risk of some of the documents that we create, that it's
I think
long, and do you know what I mean?
I think a one-pager would be more of a better use of our guidelines.
Because, this is great and it's fulsome and it gives us a really clear picture. I just wonder if there is that one pager that sits on the top of it that, staff and we can pick up and go, yep, cool, I understand what this
falls
means.
out of this, and it.
But then you've got
handy.
the framework in the back if you want to dive into that a little bit more. So that we actually implement these things, because it is really important that we do that and that we make everything really clear and simple and easy to understand.
It's almost like the guidelines are absolutely necessary in the fulsomeness that they've got them. What you need is a diagnostic tool, which is basically the one that actually says, okay, when do we engage? Yep. It's that kind of like, it's almost like a doctor identifying the symptom. There it is there. These are like the things.
A small card type thing that we can have around everywhere.
Yeah, if you're seeing this, refer this,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I was following on from Bruce and Lydia, the same thing. It's about how are we as individuals, but also how are we as leaders measuring, identifying what is too much work, because we know from all our experiences that there are people who will just keep taking on work and keep doing more and more work because they're those kinds of people. And so it's about this is great, we have to embed it, it has to become second nature, so that the people above, below and in between are recognising in each other as well to be able to go, so that there are always people, as you know, in a workplace who won't say, I've got too much work. So the people around them need the mechanisms to be able to have a word with somebody so somebody can have that chat. So I just endorse what this.
Sam.
Thank you. John, you live and breathe this stuff, so this is. I really value your opinion. Given the massive uptick in workload for all staff, governance, leadership teams, etc., even just to deliver simple business as usual, which in an organisation like this isn't overly simple either. Are you seeing a drastic uptick in people utilising counselling and support services recently?
We are seeing an increase, not dramatic, but it is a continual climb in use, and that does reflect, not necessarily what's work bound, but also in life general at the moment, and that's across other councils.
So do you think that we've captured that change in work stream and workload yet, or do you think that there's actually going to be more people coming forwards and that those rates are going to go up?
Look, it's quite possible how that works.
Yeah, we also, worth noting, there's been quite a lot of change
Just
processes.
pop your...
Sorry.
Yep.
All right.
He is on.
Sorry.
On my angle, I can't see it either. Yeah.
Apologies. I was going to say, we've also been quite a few change proposals going through realignments, etc. as well. And we've certainly been making sure we've got support available for staff during those processes. So we're seeing, for example, a spend go up in those external people. For example, we had a session yesterday. We had the people available on site so our staff could access them. So through that period of change, I think we're also expecting to see people. It's unnerving. Any change is unnerving because of the uncertainty. So we're certainly seeing staff taking advantage of those support services through those change proposals, and there's been a few, and there undoubtedly will be more. So we're expecting that to play out in the space as well.
I would like to just use this opportunity to commend the staff. We notice that we know, just like our workload's increasing with a lot of the curveballs we keep being thrown at us from Central. I just want to commend the staff and congratulate them on still delivering great outcomes for our communities. So good stuff. Keep it up, team.
One of the things that age brings, and it's one of the few things that age brings, is the fact that I've seen a lot of this before. There will be levels of deep engagement through the beginning of the change process, and then there will be levels of disengagement as people start to feel, what's the point? I don't know whether or not there's any certainty in my future, and I'm putting all of this time and effort in. That kind of thing. I'm not suggesting that that's the outcome we're looking at here, but when you're going through change, the inevitable outcome when you're trying to determine what it might be is a level of uncertainty, and that's where the disengagement occurs. So there'll be pressure on the organisation to deliver, and there will be people starting to disengage, and that's kind of where the risk starts to collide with outcomes. So I am we are going to spend a bit of time over the next wee while monitoring this particular environment within council, in my view, at this level, and you guys should be prepared for that, because I think the questions will be coming at you similarly like the way they have today. And it's better to now identify clearly that we'll probably be curious, so you guys are prepared for that, okay? Across the whole team as well. Not frightened to ask about you guys as well, so be prepared. All right. Are there any other questions? So good paper, but a bit of guidance here in relation to how we might be able to make it a really beneficial document around council, and really relevant, I think, right now. So thank you for that. Anything else? Can I have someone move that we accept the health and safety report and associated papers? Thanks, Soph. Seconded, Trace. All those in favour? Thank you. Okay, sensitive expenditure report. Becca, here she comes.
Messages going through. They're going through an identity crisis.
Okay. I feel as I've been demoted, Sam. Hey, hi, Becca.
Morning.
Morning. We're over to you in your capable hands.
I'll take the paper as read. I know it's prompted a whole lot of conversation, which has been really good. The key things that we've had, I've been going through and just obviously trying to analyse and tidy up as we go. I don't see anything in here that is stamping out too much. Obviously, there is some travel in here that has prompted some questions. But the development and training, I see that as, although it's quite high, it's down to obviously new councillors and the upskilling of the councillors, which is fine. There's nothing really that stood out like a sore thumb. So, yeah, no major risks at this point.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? Reactions? As we pause while everyone observes their own.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Lydia?
And I think for me it goes to the gift register and the things that you receive, and sometimes the things that you receive are actually out of your control of receiving, and you know they are delivered to you at times, and you know, yeah, you do see the candles. I actually I donated those to the Civil Defence volunteers at Christmas and did a draw out of a hat for names and regifted all of that to them. So I think maybe it is the element of having, you know, what has it been used for, might just help with some understanding in this as well. And I know that, you know, noting in your report that this is a work in progress and realigning this, and it's fantastic to actually, you know, have this up and available for people to see. But, you know, like I can see, you know, there was some wine that was delivered to me, and there's only so long you can leave that on the doorstep.
I am in the process of updating the gifts register, so it's got a more decision tree around it. So, and also when we do accept and put into a staff pool, what does that mean? So there's a little bit of work going through that to make that register a little bit easier, so that we do have a bit of a process flow going through there. The training from OAG is being made available, and I believe there's been a couple of people that have gone through that training. Staff have got it, but it's obviously available for elected members. So maybe, Steve, you want to talk to that?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. Yeah, look, I've been one of the dummy test cases for going through all the OIG training that the team have pulled together, and it's a number of short videos about what constitutes sensitive expenditure and how to manage it. So yeah, I think it's we're now rolling this out to everyone, including governors, so that everyone gets the same message, and then. Yeah, so it's relatively easy, and you've just got to do a wee test at the end.
Okay, so we've got a wee... I'll take Ali first and then you, Trace.
Yeah. No, I think my question was more around for the committee as a whole. I mean, a lot of effort goes into preparing this report, and is this giving people the information that they want and the level of assurance that they need from these reports?
There's lots of nodding. Everyone happy? Okay, Trace, your question.
Kind of follows on from Alison's question in a way, because I raised this at our last meeting, and I'm sorry, Bruce, I'm not even going to look at you now when I say this, but I have an ongoing concern about one of the elected members' expenses. I don't understand how somebody who lives in Arthur's Pass, he's a resident of Arthur's Pass, he says that on his campaigning material, is running up so much mileage meeting with people in Arthur's Pass. And I know that he's entitled to, we're all entitled to apply for reimbursements. But for me, there's a question here. And I don't want to bring it up every time, and I think I can assure people I probably won't unless it spikes unusually, but I just compare it to Samuel, who is at large, and what his payback is at the lowest rate because he's got a, has he got a petrol car?
No, I've got a hybrid.
He's got a hybrid, sorry.
Hybrid, so I get paid the least.
He gets paid
per
the
car.
least, yet more evidence of his oppression. I don't know what the answers are, what inquiries we can make. I mean,
Okay, I'll take this one. I'll take this one, right. Given that this has been asked over the last 2 meetings, and I'm the chair of it, and I don't have a dog in the fight because I don't claim mileage like this. On that basis, Steve and Ali, can I have an analysis of travel and the reason for, please?
Thank you.
And at that basis, I'll report back. Well, if I think there's something to deal with, I'll deal with it at that level. If I'm comfortable, though, Tracy will have to accept that's where it is. Okay.
thank you.
All right. I'm sure that each mileage claim will come with a who I'm visiting and what I'm doing conversation, and let's just do that, and I'll drift past that with Ali and Steve. Okay?
Thank you very much.
No problem. So then, Sam?
Yeah, mine was just a comment regarding the training module, which sounds great, except that I'm not sure that we can access it. So if somebody could make sure that we can get access to that, I do think it would be a good idea for all elected members too. And just for clarity, that's because there's a lot of the intranet that we, for good reason, do not have access to. Kia ora.
That is something we've looked at, Sophie, and you will be able to get access to that. So that will be coming out shortly. All I would say is if you want to do all the videos, there are 8. They are about a minute and a half to maybe 3 minutes long. The music will get on your wick after a while. So I would probably spread them out a little bit.
Could make an anatomical comment about a wick, but Sam? I'm not sure where it is. Does it stick out of your head, or is it?
Okay. Don't think that was what you were. Anyway, how do we segue from that? Yeah.
Come on, just move on.
Okay, moving on. Right along. Don't spare the horses. I'm wondering, all of these are Lagoimerable, aren't they? So all mileage could be requested, flights and accommodation, conference membership, car parking, food, catering, phone calls, training, development. So all these expenses that are sensitive expenditure are Lagoimerable. I'm almost wondering, do we just publish them?
Well, they
Openness-
are
openness.
effectively discussed in open session, so they have been effectively.
But actually broken down. Like,
Probably that's a question for you, Mayor, as to whether or not you think there's any benefit in doing that. But that's, I mean, at a level of transparency like that, that's up to you.
I think, like this is an evolving process, right? We didn't have this level of clarity of what was happening. And I guess my question is are you getting questions on what was that specifically for? Because I'm just thinking about workload of then, if we're publishing every single expenditure item in this, from telephone bills to everything, what is the workload associated to actually publish all of those individual items? Or is it actually, if someone's got a question about, where did I go? And, I went to LGNZ. And so, we know where we've been and what we've done. And, like Sam, I know with your mileage, like, you do a lot of carpooling too. And you drive. So, it's all of those types of things. So yes, you are. So it's all of that stuff, because there are all the items, when I check off your mileage, I do go through them all and tick them off or not. And, so there is all that documentation that does sit behind this, but it doesn't worry me, but I just think about the workload of everybody and,
Well, let's just see what happens when I have a look at the answer the question, and then come back, and if I'm reasonably comfortable conversation, then I think we can probably proceed as we are, and by exception interrogate, because I think that's good. That's as good a governance as you're going to get around it. Okay. Thank you, Becca. Can I have someone move that we accept the sensitive expenditure report? Trace, seconded Sam. Everyone happy? Thank you. Treasury, Neil. Welcome.
Good morning. It feels like it's been a while since we've been here, and so much has happened in between. So before I get on with the Treasury report for the period ending 30 June, we did note in the other matters that there's been a bit of work going on with councillors throughout the LTP planning and workshopping. So since the last meeting, we've had a workshop on the financial strategy, which included the Treasury and Liability Management Policy. Again, I just want to thank the councillors for the valuable feedback and really clear direction we've received in that workshop. That really helps us in terms of framing up what our capital program and our operational budgets could potentially look like for the first draft. And then we did a debt and Treasury and capital program briefing last week with councillors as well, where we just reflected the trends we've seen over the last 6 years between capital, debt and external funding. So again, thank you very much for that. So since the third quarter report, the council approved a $20 million standby facility agreement with the LGFA. So that has come online, and that's allowed council to repay the cash it held for liquidity purposes, to reduce our cash but still get that liquidity capacity. So as a result, our total borrowings have decreased to $225 million. That's a decrease of $70 million since the previous year end, and that is contributed by the fact that Selwyn Water Limited repaid $45 million in April. There's still $86 million remaining to be paid by SWL over the next 2 financial years. As noted on page 63, the balance of $225 million is $165 million below the LTP forecast, and that is due to lower capital program over the last 3 years of the LTP, higher than budgeted development contribution receipts. So the development contributions is sitting in excess of $60 million in terms of what we've received but have not yet spent on capital projects, capital growth projects to be more specific, and then the debt repayment from SWL as well. I think that probably covers the highlights. Still compliant with all the ratios except for the payback ratio, but that's also being discussed and amended for the upcoming LTP.
Okay, questions and comments for Dale and Neil? Sam.
Thank you, gents. So looking through our LTPs of past, to be honest, I think you're actually doing yourself an injustice here by suggesting that the total projected borrowings were $390, whereas following the graphs, some of them indicate that it was going to be $475 million. So either way, when you add inflation and the cost of living, and reminding those listening at home that current rate of inflation is 4.1%, and rates capping is going to have us at 4%, which will be an interesting undertaking. Yeah, I think you guys are doing amazing. So thank you and keep it up.
A couple of comments from me, Neil. Always testing. Still holding $29 million worth of cash. I would be interested in seeing a reforecast cash flow, phase cash flow over the next 10 years around your LTP, and then I'd like to have some sensitivities run on whether or not we think it's achievable as well, because activity and outcomes are often challenging, and the reason why they're challenging is it's not necessarily our desire, it's the capacity of the economy to actually do the things we need, especially when contracting organisations are deeply engaged with the private sector, deeply engaged probably with the water company now and other organisations. So, you know, we've got this amount of stuff we need to achieve and we can't find anyone to be able to achieve it for us. So I'd like to think about being a little bit more cash aggressive in relation to how we might use that. So what I'm suggesting is we could potentially suck down on that 29 million against our $30 million headroom facilities. I know that that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, and it's certainly going to make my CFO feel uncomfortable, who likes to retain as much cash as she can. But it also would also talk a little bit to your DC contributions policy in times of high growth and what we're going to be asking the economy to provide against that and how we're going to be providing it. So good opportunity to have a really good rethink, in my view, against your long-term plan. Not right now, but I think it's a job of work which could be quite a fit. You guys could drive some good outcomes here if you wanted to, around how efficient we need to be.
Yep, I think, and Bruce, just on that, and I think Neil alluded to this, so we've had a session with the councillors around what the next Treasury policy would look like, and I think as part of the LTP there is a cash flow component there as well. Yeah. I think Sam made the point as well that, I mean, with inflation just now running at 4.1, we do need to be quite conservative, but also pragmatic around how everything gets put together, from both a scheduling and our ability to deliver.
My general view is the council shouldn't be a banking institution for those taking on developments in an organisation. There should be a level of shared contribution. So developers need to be a little bit more upfront with how they pay and how you cash flow some of those DCs. I know you're pretty good, but you can rethink it, and everybody else is. Anyway, well done, guys, and good to see the cash coming down. Good to see the debt coming down. Gives you some breathing space around what you're trying to do. I don't know how many fast tracks you're faced with, but a lot would be my view, and that'll be a shared development requirement between the Selwyn Waters and your infrastructure development teams here. Okay, any other questions? Can I have someone move that we accept the Treasury report? Thanks, Sam. Seconded. Soph? All those in favour? Thank you. We're going to try and push right through to 11 here, guys, because we've got Deloitte coming in at 11. Is that right? Deloitte coming in at 11? 11:30, okay. Well, we'll try and get right through to the public excluded before we have a cup of tea. So I'm not putting any pressure on it, but I think we're going pretty well at the moment, okay? Okay. Building inspection. Vanessa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. As I run through the report, I'll try and address the comments that Tracy, I think you put into diligence, so that at the end we can wrap up with any final questions as well. So we're bringing this report to you as information today, just to highlight the pressure that our inspection team are currently under. So legally we're required to complete at least 80% of our building inspections within 3 working days. This was a new statutory requirement put in place in about October last year, and through the first part of the financial year we've been performing really well. So just to give you an indication of inspection numbers that our team carry out, from July through to February of the 25-26 financial year, they're averaging between 1,000 and 1,400 consents a month. The pressures come on in March through June, where that average has jumped up to between 1,600 and 1,900 inspections per month. So some of the factors that are influencing that demand, we've had a lot of public holidays before the winter period, and we always find a lot of pressure either side of those public holidays, because just like us, builders like to take leave too and tie it into a public holiday so they can have an extra long weekend. Our compliance data is not supporting us well, so it's still saying that we're 91% compliant. We know that's not right when we're booking 13, 14 days out. So we've recently done a secret shopper exercise with our team and audited what that customer experience is looking like. And we've just sent some new instructions to the customer services team to go, actually, when a customer rings up, you need to ask them what date they need the inspection. That has to be the request date. So over the coming months, that reporting data will actually tell us what the real number is, because I can tell you now it's going to be a lot lower than 90%. We do run a wait list as well, so if we can't give somebody the day they want, if their work is ready, we can add them to the wait list and pull them forward if there's cancellations. Unfortunately, we do rely on customers doing the right thing here. Now, we're spending a lot of time ringing around trying to fill gaps from our wait list to find that customers actually aren't ready. So they're not helping us with their behaviours. Saturday inspections, likewise. Builders are busy during the week and they put in a full week's work. They don't want to work the weekends, so they actually don't want to uptake those weekend inspections. And likewise, our people need rest as well. So we do have a number that do stick their hand up to work Saturdays. Typically between 2 and 3 inspectors are working each Saturday and delivering between 6 and 8 inspections per inspector. In terms of remote inspections, this was an initiative that we introduced through our professional partnership program. It's been slow to get uptake. We're averaging about 5 remote inspections a day currently, and we're finding that drain layers were the biggest people to jump on board. The advantage for them is they can lay drains and then close in or backfill their trenches the same day. And we're working hard with trades that are severely affected by weather to actually encourage them to get on board the program and start doing remote inspections. So we actually ran an event for bricks and block layers last week to try and get them on board, and we're hoping that's going to show dividends as well, because once again, if you get bricks to half high and you've got to wait 13 days for an inspection, you don't necessarily have enough jobs around the district to actually wait that time frame. Recruitment and retention is an ongoing challenge. We've been pretty lucky over the last wee while that we've had a stable team. To supplement peak workloads, we've often used external contractors. In Canterbury, there is actually a very limited number of external contractors for inspection work now. And we did have one person from Consentium that was working for us quite consistently for a period. He had to return to Consentium on the 20th. But I am pleased to say he applied for a position with us and he will start with us on the 30th of August. So he'll be a great addition to the team. There's a piece in there too just around staff contractual obligations. So when they do additional hours on a weekend, we can't pay them overtime. It's against their contractual obligations. So it's not much of a carrot to say, I'm paying you normal hours, please do more. So that's a bit of a challenge for us as well. And we've got to balance that with making sure our staff are well rested, because otherwise we risk burnout with them. In terms of the risk, you'll see in the report there, I've worked with Sonia Healy from the risk team, and we have increased the risk, particularly around the inherent risk, increasing that to major, given the current status. And what I'll talk to next, because one of your questions, Tracy, was around the statutory concern. So if I give you some context, I'll talk about what happened in 2021. So we had a massive uptake in work in 2021, and consents, in terms of processing them, dropped to 15% statutory compliance. And we were quite concerned because in the October we were due for accreditation. We'd done everything we could in terms of trying to get additional resource on board. So I actually called MB and we got them down here for a meeting. We gave them a tour of the district to show the impact and the growth, and said to them, look, what does this look like for accreditation for us? And are you going to talk to IONS before they get here? Their response was, look, under the legislation, we could put you into statutory management, but if we're going to do that, first we've got to know that you've done everything you possibly can, and we've got to know that there's somebody else out there that we can bring in that can actually do a better job and get back to full compliance. So we had a pretty successful accreditation round in 2021 when IONS did come. Yes, they were concerned about where we were at, and we had some follow-up work to do as a general non-compliance to furnish them with stats on an ongoing basis, which ran for about 6 months, just to show that we were gradually climbing back out of that hole. Yeah. And this, obviously I wrote this report, feels like a month ago, it wasn't quite that long ago, but things move on, so we're continuing to look at what we can do. We feel like we've exhausted all the contracting options that we've currently got in the market. So we're currently working with some temp agencies and looking at what temp resource could look like to do key inspections. So temp agencies have drain layers, can they come in and do drainage inspections? That is just going to require a meeting which we're about to organise with IONS and MB just to make sure that they're comfortable with that direction given the qualifications and that our people are required to hold, and these people would not have those qualifications. The other thing that we are working on too is separating commercial and residential bookings when they come through the door so that we're not holding up commercial builds because it's really the residential volume that is causing the problem. So we've got dedicated commercial inspectors. We're making sure we allocate them the commercial inspections and then top up with residential where they have space. So I think that's it in a nutshell from me. If anyone's got any questions, happy to
they've
take.
all got their hands up, so thank you for that. Lydia.
There was a couple of things that just popped into my mind when I read the paper, and one, actually, I wasn't that surprised to see this. And I think, seeing the influx of consents coming in and knowing that, what we've got down the pipeline is going to be a challenge for us. So I don't think it's just actually this point in time right now. There's potential future challenges in this. And so, I think it's really good that we're considering this and actually what are the things that we can do to try and mitigate the risk, Vanessa. So thank you. It's a really good paper. The things that popped into my head is, did we do any exit interviews with inspectors that have left us? Or what's the turnover of inspectors been over the past couple of years, if we're slightly down? But, and the reason I only think about that is that we're identifying any challenges or barriers that we might have. But, you're saying you're also capturing people that have contracted to us. So, it sits in that probably a bit of a nuanced space. And I don't know how you feel about this question, but, are we talking with the private BCA around inspections and trying to bridge that gap? Because if they've got inspectors there, are they fully booked out as well? And is there any way that we could potentially work with them? Or our neighbouring authorities as well? I know that, we do work together already, but is there any way that we can try and leverage that a little bit more?
Cool. Thanks, Lydia. In terms of exit interviews, they are voluntary and they are very confidential, so our HR team hold on to that information. So I'm not aware of any exit interviews that have necessarily gone ahead with inspectors. Certainly from a team perspective, we've pulled the team together as well and talked to them about this is the challenge we're facing, what ideas have you got for how we can address the problem? And we're trying to be really careful around their well-being and make sure they are well rested. In terms of the private BCA, they run a very interesting model. So they don't have a lot of staff that are actually employed by them. So if you're aware of Solutions Team, it's another company with some of the directors and owners are involved in the private BCA as well. So they're generally contracting their staff to them. We have had a contract in the past with Solutions, but we actually ended that contract, used the termination clause in it because the quality wasn't there. Yeah. Okay. So we're not keen to revisit that. Sorry, what was the third point you had there? Oh, neighbouring councils, that's right. Thank you. We have talked with Christchurch and Waimak. We have a draft contract with Waimak that we're waiting to be signed, and they do tell us they have one inspector that they can send across for a period, but it's just taking them a bit of time with that paperwork. Christchurch, unfortunately, can't help us. They're in a worse situation than us currently. So,
did we look south to Ashburton too?
We've actually put a request out to the whole of the mainland cluster, which is the top half of the South Island. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Good point.
Thank you. Sam.
Thank you. The question that I mainly have is around remote inspections. So, on average, 33% of New Zealand's building inspections fail their first investigation. Mackenzie District has an 80% failure rate. Do we know what ours is?
I don't have that figure offhand. I'm not aware of a significant number. And I guess, just for information, remote inspections are only with our professional partnership program.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But you have to be
they're signing up to that program
pre-approved.
because they're a trusted partner. They've got a good history with us.
Yeah, cool. I am cautious over remote inspections. I understand capacity-wise their reasoning and their place, and sometimes they work. That's great. After the Christchurch earthquakes, a lot of councils were pushed to the limit, and so photos were acceptable. And it was quite interesting on how many jobs had photos from other jobs sent through to them, but there was no checking. I'd just like to say, from a audit and risk perspective, there are certain elements that I think cannot be signed off via remote inspection, and that be structural steel and foundations, pre-roof inspection, and COCs, and anything to do with building envelope. So if it's flashings, pre-clad, I would really like to push the fact that you can't, and even with your example of brick, at a half-height inspection, you can't really tell from a grainy photo that the brick ties are at every lift, that the weep holes are clear, that the damp course is there. So I'm a little bit sceptical on that personally, but I understand the pressure you guys are under. So, but yeah, just my builder hat governing. Thank you.
Trace.
Fast track, your friend and mine. I just wonder if it's, I think it would be of really high value when we received the letter from the Minister asking us to feed into the fast track process, that we include stuff like our lack of inspectors, our problem with getting planners. I think we need to ramp up on behalf of our community and our staff our responses in there so that we have a narrative that is going through our replies to these fast tracks about our ability to execute well should they be approved. I'm also, I think similarly with our infrastructure, about our ability, I think we need to start just pushing back a little bit more firmly by protecting this organisation by preempting what may happen down the line, which is we get accused of not being up to scratch, doing the inspections on time, doing this, doing that, that we have flagged that prior when we had the opportunity with facts and figures about our ability to deliver should these things go through. So that some of the stuff you've put in here and that you said in your oral answers is encapsulated and goes through to the policy team or whoever it is who puts that response back on the fast tracks, because they are real, and it may not be the case, but it feels, as somebody who receives notifications about them, that there's been a speeding up in the last few months of applications being made in our district. I wouldn't want to make any comment about it being an election year, but there does seem to be an increase in number that people appear to be trying to almost get in just in case. So that's a rambling way of saying, can we use some of the information that you've got, that factual database stuff about our ability to execute building inspections and indeed for our planners to take through a consent, that we pass that through to whoever is replying on our behalf to fast tracks and stuff to build that bigger picture. Thank you.
So,
Not a question.
that's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's all part and parcel of a pretty interesting conversation. So, Soph, and then I've got some comments.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to ask the same question, but with the extra caveat that the various things that you've mentioned, Vanessa, around working with some of the, like the Drain Layers Association, that sort of thing, like those are all really good, but I'm worried that if fast track continues and we start raising a bit too much about our ability to do building consent assessments, that potentially we will, by highlighting that as an issue, provide somebody in Wellington with a more of a justification for self-certification, which, as Samuel Allocator mentioned, is, appropriate in some places and not so appropriate in others. So it's kind of that balance of how do we tell them this is a problem without creating another problem that you might not find out until 5 years after somebody's moved in. But yeah, it's that really awkward, and where does the liability for that lie? Which also was not a question. It's just that big picture, oh hell type thing that we've got going on. Thank you.
Given the fact that councils or local bodies are intergenerational, and the commercial sector is often not, the residual liability, whether you like it or not, even though it can be legislated out, discussed out, is always going to find its way back to the environment which oversees it. Then this was a really, really good paper, not necessarily from the information it contained, but for the discussion that it is going to provoke, right? Burning platforms are big opportunities, and we've got a burning platform here, right? Because the reality of it is you're resource poor, you're time poor in it, you've got a wealth, you know that you're faced with a tsunami of applications and desire. And I look at it and taking on board everything that Sam has said and said, okay, this is an opportunity for you guys to really think creatively about delivery. And remote inspection is a part of the solution potentially, but it can't be a part of the solution in isolation, because, as you say, the residual risk is never likely to fall to the contractor who could be gone all money. It'll fall to the homeowner and potentially the insurer and potentially the council. So I look at it and go, okay, so how do we shift some responsibilities and things like that? Now, I'm not suggesting I've got any answers, but there can be, opportunities in bonding, and it can be opportunities in remote inspection, which is real time, for example, right? So that may potentially, Sam, avoid the duplicate photo conversation. So even if you can reduce travel time by having PDA, because online PDA walk around someone in a control office. I don't know, I haven't got the answers, but one thing I do know is that you guys have got the most exciting opportunity to solve this to the benefit of probably the whole of the New Zealand community, because you're under so much pressure. So I think that Steve, if I was going to put any think tank resource around this, around a part of your business which deserves it, I would be putting it in here with some clever AI and some clever conversation and a bit of resource around, you do your job, but also you govern this project change conversation, because I think it's a big opportunity. So I always take these kinds of conversations as shift opportunities, where you're forced into a conversation about what we can do better, but not at the same time ensuring that you're not passing risk to us. Sam.
Yeah, so I was just going to touch on the fact that I understand that we're in the process of shifting liability from councils to LBPs. It still doesn't sort of excuse the fact that the LBP could go bust tomorrow, or alike. I've made quite a lot of money in the past rectifying previously signed off properties, and it sort of goes back, talk to any old concrete place back in the day about sending photos through the council about steel and driveways, and you'd have a row of 3 or 4 different properties all having the driveway poured on the same day, and the same piece of steel came out of one driveway after the photo into the next, take another photo, and it leapfrogged from site to site to site, which became obviously glaringly obvious when the earthquakes hit.
Those sorts of conversations, Sam, in my view, need to be delivered to the team so that they can have the workaround so that thing can't happen, right? So you kind of have if you're doing a real-time inspection, it's got to be a walk around with a handheld, not a photo, because exactly. But without the practical engagement of the building community, i.e. those people that have respected building contractors, you're not going to get the outcomes you need. But also there has to be a fiscal responsibility around a bond or something. If you want to be in the program which allows that sort of fast tracking of inspection, you're going to have to pay for that opportunity as well. So put up a bond, which therefore makes you fiscally responsible, so you won't get it out or something. There could be a package. It may not work, but there's got to be conversations around how this can work.
Well, that segues beautifully into what I was going to say next, is that I'd be comfortable with photographic evidence of jobs if the contractor has liability insurance for that dwelling, not just for while they're working on it and coverage, but for the 10-year term that the consent encompasses. So then if it's sold to another homeowner and then they discover a massive failure, like one, for example, all the aluminium in the windows was filling up. So you'd shut the window and it would sound like somebody sloshing in a bath. Then that actually falls back onto that insurance company. Yes, that would increase premiums, but these contractors are wanting to speed up process and, in my opinion, sign their own homework. So, yeah.
I just think that those sorts of solutions are going to be inevitably practical, but the reality of it is, I would ensure that the insurance is held by some form of building, entity outside of the contractor, because the first thing you would do is liquidate the company and walk away from the liability. So, if we're going to do that, there are really practical opportunities. So this is exactly what this committee is trying to do, which is to improve outcomes for our people and allow that and consent those sort of things to happen without driving your workload, Steve. But this is, in my view, really exciting for you guys.
And I'd just like to touch on one other thing. Irrelevant of how preferred they are or how approved and accredited they are, spot inspections. So 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4, send one of our team leads there, have a look, do the photos match what we're being shown? I've seen beautiful stop-ins on head flashings and then gone and had a look at site, and the cladding's not even the same colour and the windows are different. So
lose your accreditation, lose your bond kind of conversation at that point, wouldn't it? So
totally.
you've got to have a remedy which is a draconian enough to ensure that things happen properly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because of the regulations we work in, any of those remote inspections and also the processing through the professional partnership is audited on a regular basis. So we've got audit records on all of those partners.
Okay.
Regular feedback.
Great conversation. Going to bring it to a close. Thank you very much. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the? Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Sophie. See your hand up there. All those in favour? Thank you. Brilliant. Risk management. Tanya. Hi, Sonia. We've actually eaten into a little bit of your time here, so we'll take the report as read and hit the high points.
Fantastic, thank you. So I guess the three key things I just want to say is thank you for your endorsement to the risk management policy and framework. We got that approved through council in June, so that has now been communicated and implemented to staff, so that's really great. A couple of other things, so the risk profile, which you've just heard about in the building inspection space, we've increased that risk, and then we've also identified that new risk around the avian flu, so that's been documented and being managed. And then also we've done our first risk appetite assessment, so we've considered what risk appetite you set earlier on in your term, and we've looked at that against what we've got our ratings for our risks on our risk register, so that information has been provided. But open back to you, Chair, for any questions.
Thank you. Thanks for this report. I've got lots of notes here. Questions and comments for Sonia's team. Sam.
Thank you. What page are we? Sorry.
73.
I'm on page 81.
Okay.
Sorry. The catastrophic. Could we please have a list of the projects that would lead to a catastrophic outcome? So what projects are we not planning on meeting?
Sorry, which page is my pages? I think are different.
81. So on.
Alignment between strategic goals and operational objectives.
Yeah.
Risk SR009.
So the catastrophic is the inherent risk. So that is before we've got any controls in place. So we're saying if we didn't actually have any management plans or things like that, then everything would be very poorly managed. So with our controls, we go back to major. I don't actually have a list of those projects, but that is something I can look at for you to say, which ones would bring us into that major.
And just to clarify, if we didn't have a controls in place and we were in the catastrophic column, the main catastrophic outcome would be reputational, correct?
Not specifically. So these risks are assessed across all of our consequences. So it could be reputation, it could be cost, it could be financial. If we don't actually deliver our objectives, we could have consequential financial consequences or legislative breaches. So for this risk in particular, we'll be looking at across a whole heap of consequences.
Yeah, cool.
In likelihood, yeah.
I would love to see what our difficulty to deliver would encompass. So yeah,
we can give a
Shake
bit of a deep dive
at the
into that
Capital
one.
Works team. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sam. I think this is the first test against the work that we have previously done, okay? And I think we can probably anticipate that this will be a work program that we will continue to mature. And I would suggest we don't deep dive all of them, but we might pick one or two and say, okay, how do we get from A to B on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Because my reaction to it was that when I had lots of questions in relation to what I was seeing. And when I look at these sorts of things, I always look at them from when I look at, for example, an assessment around catastrophic, I would look at it as a value at risk conversation. Is it significant? Or risk of life, is it significant? Because we are talking about catastrophic. To me means like right up in the bleeding edge conversation. And what I didn't get a feel for when we were looking at these is what was having that impact. So I think a deep dive into one will give us some clarity about what that means. Because then I think that'll give us a perspective, because we can't interrogate your thinking unless we do it at one level. So I think if we in future, Steve and Ali, can we have just a little workshop around one? Would be a good idea. So that Son's team can just deliver that once. So I want to make a little bit of time in a meeting to have, say, maybe a 10, 15-minute deep dive into one so that we can get comfortable with the way you're thinking about it, okay?
Sounds good.
Is that good? All right. Sophie?
Yeah, slightly different tack. It's good to see avian flu in there. Not good to see avian flu, obviously. And I was just wondering whether there is anything floating in this area, literally, around the invasive freshwater clams yet, which are causing a bit of havoc in the North Island. And I know that Andy Spanton's aware, and I believe Selwyn Water are aware. Basically, it has the risk of severely compromising water infrastructure. And as far as I'm aware, it's not in the South Island yet, but it is in the North Island. So is it possible for you to maybe have a look at that if you haven't already and see whether it fits in here too?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm engaging closely with Andy's team, and they keep us up to date, and with Steve. So anything new, so this is a very, very first draft of our risk, so we will get into some more detail with our controls there, and some further action. So next time you'll probably see a little bit more around that, and we can look at doing potentially a briefing paper in this report as well for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it might end up evolving into biosecurity risks,
Yeah.
not just one specific, I don't
Yeah.
know, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good start and good evolution too. Pleased with that. Can I have someone move we accept the risk management update? Thank you, Sophie. Seconded. Lydia. All those in favour? Thank you. All right, internal audit. Don't move.
So I hope you can see in this report that we've made some strong progress actually working on the open items. So we've closed a lot or completed a lot of actions in the past couple of months. And we are working closely with action owners to continue working on those remaining actions. So even in the past week, we've had another 4 actions that have been completed. So we are working really closely on that. And with the internal audit program itself, we've got Deloitte coming in later to present their report, but also accounts payable is underway. So that engagement is coming to an end. We've got some initial feedback from Deloitte that there are some really good controls in place, and so far they've given us a above average benchmark there. So they're just finalising some of their findings there. So really good progress there with the accounts payable team. But yeah, back to you. I'll ask for any questions.
First a comment. Excellent work. Second a comment. The four that you sneaked over the line, were they the ones that were due on the 30th of the 7th?
Actually, yeah, I was meant to look at that before I came in and potentially guess. Yeah, the payroll ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so that my only comment would be, and I'll go first here, is that some of those dates were pushing at your due dates, and if they've sneaked them over the line, then you're actually probably knocking them over. So that's fabulous. But you might want to reflect on some of the others, because some of the others I noticed work programs where it was going to be difficult to complete within the next month, and you might want to reflect on whether or not you want consent to move those out. But,
yeah,
and I'd be inclined to ask for it now, Sons, because you've actually done a really good job getting from A to B here with all the others. So we're all feeling fairly benign and benevolent, and we'll probably allow that to happen because you're doing well here, okay?
Yeah, so we have fortnightly catch-ups generally with the action owners, so we are trying to progress things all the time. There are obviously a few interdependencies, so we've waited on a couple of external reports so they can actually progress some of their actions. So, but the one thing actually I do need to raise is that we don't have a internal audit plan finished and developed to discuss with you today. A few things as in life happen, and so that is still in development. But we've taken your feedback, Bruce, and we are aligning that directly to our strategic risks and looking at what's the best value that we're going to get from an internal audit. So we will be doing that work in the next few weeks.
I'm happy enough if you take a bit of time to get it lined up, especially with what we're faced with in the organisation through change. Lydia.
Team, this is awesome. I just put a big tick on this in my in diligent around, this is exactly what we'd asked for, is the tracking on this so that we can see how you're tracking and where our risks lie with completion. And I can see that you have 110% taken that on board, and this is really good. We are actually hitting our straps now, and the information that is coming here. So I'm sorry, it's not actually a question. Bruce lets me be loose on.
That's good.
The statement.
Lets me be loose on standing orders, so I'll take the opportunity.
Thank you.
And I think you should be really proud of what you're putting up here.
Yep. I have 2 quick questions as a result, and asked an open session, and you'll have to be careful how you answer them. But one, have you got any recidivists that are not responding to you? And if you have, I would be inclined to take that up with the chief executive, put a bit of pressure on them, not to be named here and shamed, but my view would be is that needs to be dealt with. And there is, don't tell me there's not one, because there's always 1 or 2 in the organisation that don't prioritise internal audit clearance. And from our perspective, that's probably not helpful for you.
I think I'm pretty lucky at the moment with the action owners, and they are all very responsive. They just do have competing priorities, so sometimes things do get dragged out a little bit, but no, everyone at the moment is working really hard to close these out.
Yeah, what you may find over time though is that they'll always have competing priorities. So that's where you use you use the impact of the Chief Executive's office and me if necessary.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
And the other one is what's keeping you awake here at night in relation to clearance? Is there anything coming through that you're going, okay, that's difficult and it's critical?
I wouldn't say anything in particular.
Good.
No. Just that there is a lot of change, and that is sometimes why people delay, because they're like, well, I need to wait for this information before we can actually really say whether or not we should do it like that. So that's the only thing, yeah.
All right. Awesome. No other comments or questions? Have someone move that we accept the internal report? Thank you. Moved, Trace, seconded Sam. Everyone happy? Thank you. Well done. Legal and compliance. Hi, Soph. Excuse me. In your capable hands.
Hello. Thank you for having me back. I'm officially back in the Head of Legal and Risk role. I know I've been floating around a couple of months, but I've been back in this role for a week. I'm actually not going to present your report today other than to say thank you to the team. Sophie has prepared this report on behalf of Dom leaving, so I'll hand over, and we've also got the team in the back to answer any questions required.
Well, we'll take it as read, but I'm sure that there's a couple of things you want to highlight.
Yes, I guess the key thing here is the team's obviously in a bit of a transition at the moment, but we're still delivering. So you'll see the number of matters that we've been dealing with there. Also, we're in a bit of a transition with our Lagoima as well. So even though we've managed to keep up response timeframes, our advisor has been pinched by a different team, the policy team. So we're keeping her in the building, but while we've recruited a new starter there, she doesn't start until the end of the month. So we do expect probably in the next reporting stats we might see a little extension to our timeframes, but we're still obviously trying to keep on top of those. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, comments? Tracy?
Okay, comment. Thanks for the graphs and stuff and the colours. It makes it easier for me anyway to read and understand what you're doing, so I appreciate that. I just wanted to make the comment about Lagoimas. And that sometimes not answering inquiries early in the process is what leads somebody to turn something into a Lagoima. And so while some staff may think we don't have time to be messing around looking for all this information at this point in the inquiry, where it's not maybe a Lagoima, if it becomes a Lagoima, it becomes an organisation-wide time suck, for want of another word. So I just wonder about that as well, about where we're embedding through our organisation this idea that everything doesn't have to be a Lagoima, but everything potentially is. So let's look at it the first time it comes in at how we might be able to help our colleagues not have more to do later down the line. So that's just...
If I might chip into that, and Denise is actually here as well, who could probably say even more. There's a program underway at the moment being led by Nicola in the community services team called Customer Matters. It's a cross-organisational group looking at dealing with that exact issue about making sure we get a better connection between what we have at the very front of the organisation, which is an extremely responsive customer services system. Sometimes those things then go into the system and are not dealt with in quite the same level of urgency or detail, and we're trying to make sure that that gets very consistent throughout the organisation so that every single staff member understands that they are in customer services, whether they think or not. It's getting quite a boot along from our Chief Executive, who seems to be quite keen on this idea. But there's a formidable team has just gathered within the organisation to progress this. So we hear exactly what you're saying. first touch, well resolved by knowledgeable people, often preempts 10, 20, 40 times as much work down the other end. The other side I'd say is a lot of the Lagoimas I'm seeing that come through, people are clearly using AI and they are getting incredibly lengthy and detailed, covering everything. And we really need to think about how to manage the sheer size of some of those. And Sophie and I have been having a bit of a chat about what ways we have, what we can make that manageable, or it could just absolutely cripple the place. So I don't think it's unique to us, is it, Sophie? But it is really becoming problematic.
I'll sort of add to that. With the AI, it's I guess there's a bit of fighting fire with fire. So when we get a request that's clearly AI, we're using AI to help us pass that out into what's actually being asked for. Likewise, where it will take a huge amount of staff time, we refuse on the grounds of substantial collation, but we do try and provide, we try and look at the nub of the issue that the Lagoon is getting at, and this kind of feeds into your point around somebody who makes a Lagoima is often because there's something that's gone wrong earlier on. So there's the customer process, but then there's also the importance of the legal team being engaged and embedded throughout the business so that they can assist with resolving those issues early before it becomes a problem. Yes, and also with the AI as well, you will have seen my lovely little crack at using AI to help pass out some of the themes. And so we're connecting them with the comms team around some key messaging of issues that are arising a lot in Lagoimas.
Thank you.
Sam.
What's the point of difference from 14 working days turning into 8? To clarify for our response time, nearly halving, Go team.
Systems and capability. So there was a lot of work put into improving the systems, making it a lot easier. There was a lot of clunky process around Lagoimas about 18 months ago, forms that people had to fill out. The teams just didn't have time. We stripped all of that out and got it down to this is the information we need from the team, and then they send it back to us and we send it out, and we really overhauled the way in which we track those Lagoimas as well. And then also we got an incredibly capable advisor, and we've recruited an incredibly capable one coming in soon, so hopefully we can keep that up.
I was wondering if it was because 98% of your Lagoimas were coming from the people sitting around this table.
No comment.
You may well say so, but it's not for us to comment.
No, yeah, that's good. That's good.
We've been replaced.
Yeah. No, well done. Keep it up. So what do we need to do to get it to 4 days?
Actually, well, so maybe a point here as well is making sure our resources are being put in the right place. So obviously, we could get it down to 4 days if we threw even more resource at it, but actually prioritising where our Lagoima and governance resources are going, so it's going to the right places. So.
It's significantly lower than 20, so well done. Keep it up. Good stuff.
Sophie.
Yeah, thank you, team. First up, shout out for the sheer level of value that the legal team provides. So thank you. That's
Yay, lawyers.
yay, internal lawyers. In this particular case. Anyway.
Back in focus, please, team.
But my question was actually around in the analysis of request themes around property. Now I've heard it said that people are trying to get around us paying for a limb by logging a Lagoima request, and I get that in some ways it's. My question was going to be like, do we have to respond to it as a Lagoima, or can we just redirect them all straight to a limb? Because that is a process that has been established and does exist, not just the Lagoima.
Yes, and I guess the distinction is between a limb and a property file as well. So a lim's obviously the summary, and then your property file has got absolutely all your consents and all of the documents on there. So we have engaged with the Building Planning and Regulatory Services team around what is the threshold where we route somebody through the property file process. And I can't remember off the top of my head what that is, but essentially if it might be one consent that the person is after, one or two, then that might just be provided. But if it's anything more than that, then it gets routed through the property file process.
Good. Thank you.
Lydia.
I think I was looking at your analysis of the themes that we have here, and I was like, there's always going to be legoimas for sensitive information. We know that. But I was like, it led me to think, I'm interested whether the changes in our reporting at this table may alleviate some of the challenges around property consents, development records. We have our resource consent dashboard. If we continue to progress with that, of making sure the documents are available on there, might actually alleviate a whole lot of work because people can easily find the stuff. And with the step changes that we've got in our reporting on how we're spending money and maintaining assets, roads, how we calculate charges, might actually assist in that. So time is money, right? Like Tracy said, if we can front load the stuff, then
very much so. Definitely our Legoima page, we try and direct people to information sources before they get down to the submit Legoima request form. But I guess in terms of if somebody submits a Legoima and the information's already publicly available, we still have to respond to the Legoima. So actually what I have been thinking about is whether there's ways we can leverage AI and have a repository of information that we can get an AI agent to look at to respond to the Legoima, particularly where it's asking for already publicly available information.
Correct.
Sam.
Sorry, coming back again. I haven't checked the database in a while. Are we still uploading Legoimas as they're answered? Cool. And are you finding that you're able to reduce your workload by pointing people to a question that's already been answered on that, or?
Not particularly, I don't think so. So I can't recall off the top of my head the percentage of Legoimas that we actually publish, but a lot of them we don't because they are about a specific issue, a specific property, and so we don't publish those generally. But if they are information that does have wide interest, we do publish them. But I'd have to come back to you, and perhaps in the next report I can do some of that analysis.
Because it would be awesome if that's what our AI could do, would be, hey, I want to know about the aquatic centre, bang, here you go. Here's all of the Legoimas that have come from that are in regards to the aquatic centre.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. No more questions. Thanks, team. Keep up the good work. Can I have a move that we accept the legal and compliance report, please? Thanks, Trace. Seconded, Sam. Everyone happy? Thank you. All right. Okay. It's a good time to draw a line under it. We'll have a quick cup of tea. Come back for the public excluded. Thank you very much, everybody. What's that? Okay. Resolution to exclude. Do I have to read it? You want me to read it? Where is it? Okay. Righto, we resolved to close public. Everyone happy with that? Moved, seconded, Sam. Moved, Lydia, seconded, Sam. Public excluded. Moved, Lydia, seconded, Sam. Thank you.